The leadership of Arsenal had ceased to be comfortable and became a heavy burden, the kind you feel in the players' eyes even before the ball starts rolling. What seemed like control turned into pure tension, and each round now carries the weight of a possible public collapse. The resounding victory over Sunderland created a strange silence, not of relief, but of distrust, as if everyone knew that the real test wasn't in that easy game, but in the one that came right after. Away from home, against an opponent that loves to spoil pre-established narratives. The turnaround of Manchester City. The victory at Anfield acted like an electric shock in the league. A game that seemed to mark the end of the chase turned into emotional fuel for a squad accustomed to surviving under pressure. City not only won, they sent a clear message. We are still alive, we still believe, and we will force Arsenal to make mistakes. This type of message doesn't appear in the standings, but it weighs heavily on the minds of those in the lead. It is in this context that the speech of Paul Mercenit explodes as a headline disguised as support. By saying he trusts Arsenal to finish the job, he exposes something many avoid saying: the team is facing a decision that could define the entire season. It's not just about beating Brentford, but about how to win, with whom to win, and what that means internally for a group that still carries recent scars. Behind the scenes, the biggest question mark doesn't revolve around the defense or the midfield, but around the team's most symbolic player, the center forward. Mikel Arteta, you know that any choice will be interpreted as a personal stance. Victor Gyökeres represents strength, immediate impact, a physical presence that intimidates defenders. Gabriel Jesus represents long-standing trust, mobility, and an affinity with the coach. There is no neutral choice when the title is at stake. If Gyökeres starts but doesn't make a difference, the criticism comes quickly. Lack of sensitivity. Lack of confidence in the player who knows the club. If Jesus starts and the attack falters, the criticism changes tone. Insistence, stubbornness, fear of taking risks. Arteta is trapped in a dilemma where the mistake isn't just technical, it's political within the locker room. A poorly interpreted benching decision can create friction. A wrong look can become headline news. Meanwhile, the Brentford he observes everything from the outside, comfortable in the role of unlikely villain. 6th place, organized, intense, playing at home. The team doesn't carry the weight of the title, only the pleasure of taking down giants. The compact stadium, the close-knit crowd, the physical and direct style of play create an environment where Arsenal historically struggles, especially when they enter the game thinking more about the consequences than the game itself. What worries those who follow Arsenal's daily routine most isn't the tactical aspect, but the behavior. When their lead starts to be threatened, the team tends to play more defensively, less fluidly, with safer and less vertical passes. This is no coincidence. It's a fear of making mistakes. And in the Premier League, fear is an invitation for the opponent to grow. On the other side of the equation is City, Pep Guardiola. They are experts at applying pressure without needing to say much. Each of their victories becomes a silent reminder that the chase continues. There are no exaggerated public provocations, only results. This cool demeanor tends to be more unsettling than explosive statements because it forces the leader to respond on the field without excuses. The trip to Brentford, which at another stage would have been just another difficult match, now takes on the contours of an early final. A stumble won't immediately cost them the lead, but it completely changes the atmosphere. The advantage shrinks. Confidence wavers, and the season's narrative begins to shift from solid campaign to title threatened. In English football, these narrative shifts happen far too quickly. Internally, some say this is the game that separates championship-winning teams from promising ones. Winning when everything is against you is what builds titles. Drawing or losing when the pressure is on is what fuels uncomfortable labels that follow clubs for years. Arsenal knows well how these labels hurt, because they have experienced it recently. The choice of attack ultimately symbolizes something bigger: courage or caution. Gyökeres is the impactful choice, the gesture of someone who wants to decide quickly. Jesus is the choice for control and for someone who trusts the process. Neither is wrong in isolation, but the context transforms every detail into a public judgment. Arteta not only decides who plays, he decides what message he sends to the squad. The fans, in turn, are experiencing a mix of hope and fear. Hope because the team has shown quality throughout the season. Fear because they've seen this story slip away in the details. Every piece of news, every comment from a former player, every simulation of the schedule becomes emotional fuel. The game begins long before the initial whistle, in the minds of those watching. If Arsenal wins, Merson's words become a fulfilled prophecy. Arteta becomes a cold strategist, and the squad gains morale for the final sprint. If they stumble, the same words will be reinterpreted as unnecessary pressure, and the choice of attack will be dissected frame by frame on sports programs. That's how English football works. Heroes and villains change in 90 minutes. None of this changes the fact that the ball still needs to go in. But pretending that this game is just another 3 points would be naive. It carries the weight of an entire season, a project under construction, and a rival that refuses to disappear. In Brentford, Arsenal isn't just playing against 11 players, it's playing against its own recent past. When the ball starts rolling, it won't just be a duel of strategies or individual talents, it will be a test of nerves, leadership, and conviction. The kind of game that defines whether a team is ready to be champion or if it still needs to learn, in the cruelest way possible, how to handle pressure when everyone is watching.